Junkies, how are you? I thought what I would do is start this little series called Mermaid Junkie Tales, T-A-L-E-S, and it's just going to be like almost like a personal vlog of me doing things, you know, like DIY stuff or what I'm doing around the house, that kind of thing, which I'm defrosting stuff right now because I'm going to make my beloved gardener a homemade vegetable soup. And so that is what I was going to do while I talk to you guys about something called depression, and also talk to you about do you guys use a skillet? This was a skillet that was my grandmother's skillet, and it's a cast iron skillet, and it's been in our family forever. And when I was getting my divorce, I was like, that's the one thing I want. I want my grandmother's skillet. So your food always tastes a lot better if you use a skillet, you know, to like, if you use meat or if you cook with meat, like beef and stuff, use an iron skillet. And another tip, even my friend Lizzie was telling me the other day, is like, use a metal spatula on your skillet, and it makes the food taste better. Sorry you guys, I'm like just got out of the shower. I haven't put any makeup on or anything, but you know what, this is me raw, and this is just me. But anyway, so like when you use your skillet, always use like a metal spatula. And because my beloved loves ground beef, like he eats meat and stuff, I'm gonna make this soup and with some hamburger beef and some vegetables. I don't know if you guys would want the recipe, but you know what? I'm a Southern girl at heart, and so I called my mom this morning. I was like, I want your recipe for your vegetable soup, so I can make it with some crackers or, you know, cornbread or something. But anyway, so yeah, when you ground the meat, it just tastes better in an iron skillet, and they're not that much upkeep once you season them, which is called seasoning. Is like when you have prepared it and it's seasoned, you know, it has a good base in it and everything, so it's really good to use. Okay, so I wanted to talk to you guys about depression, and I did a video yesterday and I didn't finish editing it, but I thought maybe since I was cooking or whatever, I would just talk to you guys about it now. And basically what depression is it's when you've repressed your feelings. And I know a lot of times people will like go from depression and then like, have you ever noticed that like some people will go from depression and then they'll get angry or vindictive or like revenge seeking, and then they'll go back to depression? Like a lot of times, I mean, if you talk to Abraham Hicks or you went to any of her workshops, she's talked about depression and what it is. And basically depression is like us not being in touch with our emotions and our feelings. And so our inner guidance system is kind of driving us to become the person or whatever we want in life. Like say for instance, like previous, you know, in my previous marriage before, I knew there were certain things that I needed to address or whatever, but I didn't really want to address those things. And so I would become super depressed because I was hiding and like stuffing down my emotions and my feelings. And so that's what happened, is that you become depressed. And the hardest thing to get out of depression is that people that are in your surrounding, like circumference of friends, like your circle of like people that you hang out with, or family or whatever, and a lot of times it is family, they want people to be depressed. And I know that they mean for your greater good and everything, but a lot of times when people are depressed, it's much easier to deal with a person that's depressed than it is to deal with a person that's angry. Have you ever noticed that? Like somebody that might be depressed for a really time, and then they finally have had enough and they're done and they're not dealing with it anymore, and they're like, okay, I'm making shit happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're uprooting everything that they had thought or did or whatever. And then they start like making all these changes and stuff, and it's like the people that are in that circle, you know, whether it's family, friends, whatever, they start freaking losing their mind, because it's like, it's easier to deal with the person that's depressed. And so what they'll do is like subconsciously, they're doing it, but they want you to get back to being depressed, because you're easier to handle when you're depressed than being angry. I mean, try dealing with an angry person. And so then a lot of times what happens, you guys, is the person that's depressed goes back to being depressed again, because they get talked out of what they really want in life and what their real emotions are feeling and what they feel, what their feelings are. And so a lot of times, I mean, and especially like with me, because I was so depressed and stuff like during my divorce, that I didn't tell anybody what I was doing or what I was thinking or anything, because people will try to talk you out of it. Like, you know how like you just want to be validated, and so a lot of times maybe when you're feeling sad or depressed or whatever, they'll convince you, oh, you know what, it's not right, you shouldn't get angry now, you shouldn't get mad or, you know, upset with people or whatever. But it's like, no, it's like, it's almost like your inner guidance system is protecting you and helping you to see, like, you need to expand. You need to become the person that is really internally within you. And these other people are going to keep you down. And I'm sure that they mean no harm by it, or you know, they're not doing it on purpose. But you're a much easier person to deal with if you're depressed, laying in bed, you don't want to talk to anybody, you're like, just like, leave me alone. And compared to somebody that's angry and people don't want to have to deal with you. Anyway, I think I've already said that twice, but my whole point is like, if you're going through depression or you're having to deal with depression and you don't know what to do as far as like why you're depressed or whatever, depression means suppressing your feelings and emotions. And so if you can kind of try to somehow, like, you'll always be guided out of that. Like, people are not always going to stay depressed. Like, God or source will help you to you know, to float, so to speak, to come up. If you'll just stop holding on to the oars, and not the oars, but if you'll stop holding on to the anchor that's weighing you down. Like, you know, I always use like mermaid methodology, but if you'll let go of the anchor, you'll rise to the top, and that means that you'll come out of that depression. And so I don't want you to feel like it's a hopeless cause, because depression can really be debilitating, and it can really make you feel like there is no freaking way out. And that's why people just, you know, commit suicide, because it's the path of least resistance for them, because you go from depression and then you'll get angry and then you'll fall back, you know. And Abraham Hicks talks about how, like, she gives the analogy of like going from San Diego to from Yuma to San Diego, and in the process of traveling from Texas to California, that she doesn't, you know, you don't get to Yuma and then go, oh my God, I'm never going to get there. I'm never going to get there. I'm just going to turn around and never go, you know, I'm never going to make it to California. And so basically her analogy is, you know, you don't ever think that way. When you're on a trip or something, you might be in the middle of, you know, the middle of Texas, and you're trying to get to California, and you're traveling from Florida. I'm not going to get to Texas and go, oh my God, we're never going to get there, because you know that that's the journey, that you have to go through all of that to get to California. Does that make sense? Like, in the whole process of that trip and that journey going there, you don't ever change your mind and turn back around and go back the other way, because you know ultimately you're going to get there. So just try to remember that when you're going through depression. I mean, and even if you have to go in a general aspect of things, you know, like, okay, you know, you can't go from the extremes to one from the extreme to another. So what you'll have to do is like generalize. And so that's kind of what Abraham Hicks talks about, is that generalize your feelings. So say, you know what, I'm depressed today. Okay, that's downstream, right? And then you're like, oh my God, I hate my life. Okay, that's upstream. But then you just keep talking yourself down to it in a general manner, And it will be so much easier for you to come out of it, because you will come out of depression. I promise you that you will. You know, I'm not a doctor or anything like that, and I don't prescribe. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm not a doctor. I understand that. But I have dealt with depression, and like a really, really bad cases of depression, to where I would sleep on the couch like for weeks, and this is no exaggeration, and like I would go probably 3 days sometimes when I was in the bout of extreme depression, and I wouldn't even bathe for like 3 days. And I know you might think, oh my God, that's horrible or whatever, but anybody that knows and has dealt with depression knows exactly what I'm talking about. And you know that it's very difficult to do anything, you know, when you're depressed, and you feel like you feel like there's no relief. And so you can kind of understand why people actually would get on drugs or want to self-medicate, because that they're not in touch. I mean, that's the whole thing, is like, you know, you can say, okay, that's the path of least resistance for a lot of people, you know, and that's fine for their journey. But I just want to always encourage you, my followers, to know that, you know what, there's a better way to have a joyful, happy life. And, you know, and the reason that you feel so terrible is because you know that that's not your true, that's not really you being in touch with your internal self. And so being depressed is just, you know, you're not in connection with God or source. And so I would just encourage you to try to focus on, you know, thinking, you know what, that it's, oh, my little hair thing came out. Just try to remember that, you know what, life gets better. It really does get better. And if you can think, you know, try to start diving into your issues, and not dive too deep and too long, but you know how I'm like a real big proponent of, you know, if you're looking at, you know, journaling and stuff as an objective to try to get through the depression, try to start writing down your feelings and like what things you really want. Like pretend no one was going to ever read your journal, okay? Or type it or whatever you do. I write it in a journal or whatever. And you can burn the freaking paper after you're done if you don't want to leave it around. But just start writing down your feelings when you're in the midst of feeling like severe depression. Like, what is it that you really want in life? What is that? Because if you can figure out what it is that you really desire in life, you can start working your way up to the surface of the water. You really can get out of the depression. And so especially these holiday season, so many people are unhappy. So many people are sad and stressed and depressed and completely downtrodden with grief. You know, maybe they've lost someone that they love, or they're alone on the holidays, you know, and it's like, it's not all peachy king and hunky-dory, you know. I mean, there's a lot of people that struggle in life. And so I just want to encourage you that if you do struggle with depression, know that there is a way out. And I don't know if I touched on any of this, and I don't know if that served you at all. And if it didn't, and you want me to go into more details or whatever, maybe even like me discussing my personal journey with depression and how I was able to completely come out of depression. I mean, I used to be suicidal. I would think about suicide probably 10 times a day, and I'm not exaggerating. And so what of course happens when you tell your doctor, like, oh, I'm so depressed or whatever, and they ask you, you know, the little list of questions like, do you think about, you know, harming yourself? And I'm just like, yeah. I mean, last month it was only 5 times a day, but now it's 10. And so what they'll do is want to increase your dosage of medication and like completely keep giving you more medicine. And it's like, I appreciate that for the time in my journey that I needed that. But I knew internally within my own self, within my own soul, that that was not the right thing for me. And I knew that there had to be another answer, because I just still, it wasn't working. The medicine was not working. And I'm like, okay, well, if it's not that, and it's not a chemical imbalance, and it's not this, and it's not that bullshit, then what is wrong with me, you know? And that is what was wrong with me, is that I wasn't living my truth, and I wasn't being transparent, and I wasn't specifying and clarifying to people around me what I freaking wanted in life. Like, the main thing was that I was miserable in my freaking marriage. And that's nothing to do with any other party in that. That was me. That was my own shit. And of course, you know, in the midst of that kind of thing, you're wanting to blame other people. You want to blame your partner because, you know, you hate your marriage. When in actuality, now that I look back on it, no, it was my own crap. I taught people how to treat me. And so I'm not blaming this on anyone because, I mean, it's easy to do that. And I did in the beginning. I blamed everybody because, of course, blame feels better than guilt. I mean, let's be honest. It feels a lot better to be, you know, it's like, oh, I love that person. And it's like you feel powerless. But then, you know what? It's like, okay, that person pissed me off. Now I'm going to beat the crap out of them. And so, you know what? That does feel a little bit better than feeling depleted and defeated in depression. It's like revenge. I want to take revenge. And it's only a normal human tendency to want to do that. And it elevates you. You know, so many people don't look at it like that. They're like, oh my God, what's wrong with her? She's, you know, she's saying it's okay to get angry or whatever. Hell yeah, I'm saying it's okay to get angry. You know, I mean, no, we're not in the vortex when we're getting angry, but I'll tell you right now, it feels a lot better than being depressed, sleeping on the couch for 2 freaking solid weeks, right? Okay, so I'm sure that you guys can vouch for me on that. Okay, so look how good this hamburger meat looks. It's all brown and like it's been like almost seared, you know, so it has like this crunchy, dark brown part to it. And then I'm gonna cut my vegetables and throw all of it in a pot and just let it cook for like 3 hours. And I don't know if you wanted to know that. Yes, this is my 1974 kitchen that I have not gotten to yet. I'm in the process of, if you're following me on my blog, you know, I just started this little series called Staffordshire Cottage, my little DIY journey. And it's me renovating this entire 1974 Florida home. And so anyway, yeah, I have yet to get to the kitchen yet, you know, but that's okay. I'm totally cool with it. And I hope that you come along on my Mermaid Junkie Tales. And I hope this served you and that I was just kind of rambling off about depression and stuff, but I kind of wanted to just talk to you like my friends, like if we were at the house and kitchen table talk, okay? And like I said, I hope this served you. I love you very much. If you have any questions or comments, just leave them below. And if you give me a thumbs up if you want to see Stafford Stories or Mermaid Junkie Tales. You know, I can't decide what do you think I should name it? Stafford Stories or Mermaid Junkie Tales? Like, I think that's kind of cute, don't you? Like Tales, like a tale, like a fairy tale. It's a play on words. Okay, I love you. I'll talk to you soon. I'm yours until my next swim. Ciao.